Got 303. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., and welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I am particularly honored that today with us, our guest is George Wilborn, the stress reliever. George, welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you so much, Junior. It's a pleasure to be here once again. I go back far with you and your dad, and it's always, especially in this environment and where we are today, always glad to join you, brother. You're looking good and young as ever.
George, I am so honored that you're here. There's so many issues that we need to chop up. Over the last 2 weeks, we've talked from theologians, scholars, public officials, scholars, but we need some stress relief. And so I'm turning a lot, I'm turning a lot of this over to you and the issues that we're going to be confronting, because at some point in time, psychologically, we just got to come down. I mean, we just have to come down.
Sure.
And I don't know anyone better who's given more thought to comedy, thought to the idea of relief, and the fact that this is going to be 4 years of something new every single day. I just got a text message a few moments ago from our producer, which said that Trump is now vowing to release the files of RFK, JFK, and MLK, declassifying all of the documents for the American people. Your initial thoughts? Some of that's not funny, but
hey, release it all. Sure. I mean, we want to know about the aliens. We want to know we want to know all this. He's not good at keeping secrets anyway. So we want to know all the stuff that he did. I say release it all. But listen, people, it's going to be a long ride, Jesse. It's going to be a long 4 years. So a lot of this stuff, and we'll see what type of guardrails are in place that'll keep this from being true comedy from tragedy. But I'm all for some of the transparency that has been kept from the American people, be it the things he's talking about or the things that he's not talking about that needs to be released as well.
I don't want to say I'm excited about it, but I think that the mystery behind the death of RFK, the death of JFK, Martin Luther King Jr., any of the conspirators, anyone who might have been involved or interviewed, it just needs to come out. And if Donald Trump has more courage than Joe Biden and Bill Clinton and Barack Obama to tell the American people the truth so we can know what the government has been hiding, I mean, go Donald.
I would be remiss to say if I didn't say that he will definitely miss the mark if he doesn't throw in Jimmy Hoffa and the Loch Ness Monster as well. We need we need clarity on all these fronts.
And the aliens.
Oh, we definitely got to have. We want to see the bodies. We're not just talking about the UFOs. We know the ships are here. We talking about, we want the ones that they already have, or if they froze, or if they're at Elon Musk's house, wherever they at, we want to see all of that being revealed.
George, recently Donald Trump pardoned 1,500 people who ran through the Capitol. You've got to have some thoughts on what it means to free all these crooks.
Well, I think crooks free crooks sometimes, and what I really truly feel is that it's unfortunate. I feel saddened for some of the family members and for the actual officers and police personnel that was on the front lines that day, who were smashed in between doors and sprayed with sometimes their own pepper spray or bear spray and assaulted like that, defending the U.S. Capitol. For them to be at full pardons, I think is a travesty, and I think a lot of people obviously are speaking out and speaking their mind on that. I also am a big person and believe in second chances. So to some of those, maybe they would have been warranted, but to blanketly to pardon all of them and opposed to looking at it on a case-by-case basis, I just think it was a show of irresponsibility that we're going to be shown for quite a long time in the near future.
Let me say that that if you're just joining us, George Wilborn is my very special guest for the next hour and beyond. I'm hoping that George will be a regular contributor to the Jesse Jackson Jr. show, but I'm not going to stop right there. I want George Wilborn to have his own show. He's not only funny,
Hey,
he's got political commentary, he's got opinion, he's got jokes, and I'm going to
hey,
hopefully he'll have me on his show like I'm having him on mine.
you got it from your mouth to Tavis' ears and the good Lord.
Welcome, everyone, to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Listen, George, Donald Trump is moving at a breakneck pace to change the nature of the federal government and the structure of the federal government. I mean, there are more executive orders than anyone can wrap their mind around. But today we heard about the end of affirmative action, that
Mm.
program that was designed to offset negative action against Black people. Your thoughts?
I'm not surprised. I don't see anybody who's been following his last presidency and when he was in power and the things that he said he wants to do. I am by no means shocked by this. You know, me as a dark skinned person, you know, I feel directly affected. You know, I forward to those DI hires. Almost all the jobs I've ever had was a DI hire. So, you know, for people like me with my complexion, we in trouble. But, you know, I still don't think that it's a surprise. Listen, it's a lot of executive orders that people have here. He's just getting started. He just been in a couple of days, people. You better brace yourselves. Now I hear, because I got sources of my own, Jesse, as you know, and I hear there's some orders coming down that people don't even know about. All right. So you better brace yourselves for something that's going to be affecting your life directly. Now, I'll tell you a couple of them. I hear the ancient mama is going back on to the pancake box and the syrup bottles. Now, I'm talking about the old ancient mama. No, Phil Mills or whoever's on there now. No, ancient mama coming back. Executive order. And I mean the old ancient mama with the do rag and the hairpiece, the bonnet, all that's coming back. All right. So and I also hear that the colored water fountains, they are executive order. Tired of you drinking in these white water fountains. We're gonna separate this and get some order around here. All right.
George, when we come forward, we're going to continue this with George Wilborn on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome back to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My very special guest is none other than the stress reliever. George Wilborn is a legendary comedian. George, right before the break, you were giving us your list of executive orders. I bet you got a couple of hundred of them.
No, I just hear this was coming down the pike. These are not my orders. My sources say that the pen is just now getting wet, if you will. You know that there's a lot of stuff. Yes, Hamilton, I hear, is going to be an executive order that Hamilton will be banned from all theaters across the United States. There will be no way you see an underground. I guess there's some underground parties or something, and you can see that. I hear that there's an executive order that all do rags and bonnets will be banned. They will not. They will no longer sell do rags, no bonnets, none of that. And I hear behind that the baby hair ban is coming as well. I know a lot of you ladies like to wear the little baby hair. Now I hear there's an executive order banning any of that and bangs. So I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be quite the next 4 years. Just brace yourselves because I hear it coming down the pike quite rapidly.
I think the next generation of civil rights advocacy is to convince Donald Trump to ban the ghetto,
Hey,
ban inferior schools. Right? I mean, how about a swimming pool with a coach in every high school in America, and
wow.
baseball teams bring
And
back
dugouts.
athletics for
And
schools that don't have athletic programs. How about an executive order to get some things done for our kids?
listen, man, we're merely just trying to get them to teach Black history in schools. So some of the things you're asking for, my friend, I don't know if you're going to get those right. I don't know for how far down on the list those might be. I think you'll get the do rag ban before you get some of the stuff you talking about. That's for sure.
So we've seen Donald Trump come at us with a fury of executive orders, and uh, even today, a federal judge has temporarily blocked Donald Trump's attack on the 14th Amendment, this
Yes,
birthright citizenship. You know as well as I do that gives a person who was born in the United States citizenship, even if their parent wasn't. Um,
sure.
it seems to me that that's unconstitutional and
Well, we
outside.
know we know that it's unconstitutional, and he knows and his team knows that it's unconstitutional. But just the blatantness that they would file that, knowing that it's going to have to go to the Supreme Court, and that in all likelihood that will be shut down. I think that's a clear warning shot as to just how far President Trump wants and intends to go, and that part is not funny. That part is it's hard to find the humor in some of the executive orders and some of the things that in his first days he's trying to pass and indicate that he intends to, like you said, dismantle what we know and what we've known for a very long time to be our democracy.
Today, I mean, the issues are coming so fast. I had to have George Wilborn on because one, he deserves his show. He can handle these issues fast, but much more quicker than most of us who are engaged in talk radio. George, today the president of the United States, and again, this is serious, put a freeze on the Department of Justice's civil rights cases, meaning they're freezing the enforcement of the George Floyd police consent decrees. They're freezing the enforcement of police consent decrees with the city of Chicago and other major municipalities around the country. I mean, all jokes aside, this is very, very serious stuff, and
Mhm.
we're going to have to react to it.
Yes, you know what's funny, and not funny, funny, not so funny, is that for so long, many people have tried to make don't believe your lying eyes and want people to believe across this country that things are not about race and it's not about the color of your skin. It's not about where you come from or what you look like. But yet, all the things that you see seem to boil down to only that and to simply that. And so, yes, I think there's going to be and needs and as a must to be voices raised. I don't know how there's not been more protests and picketing and more people standing up on some of the things that that have happened right up until his inauguration. So I expect that to happen. I would imagine, Jesse, that there are some type of safeguards in place, and that there will be some judges that will block things that are blatantly unconstitutional, and perhaps even some members of the GOP will see some things that will just be too far of a reach for them to set a well in their spirits and in their hearts, if they have one. I have to believe, as an American, as a citizen who's been watching this and being around this for quite around a long time, and making jokes of some of the most horrifying things in our lives. I have to believe, like you said, all jokes aside, that there's going to be some resistance to things like this.
I want you to know, I just got a text message from someone I haven't heard from since the sixth grade.
Oh my
And
goodness.
Jesse,
Oh
this
my
is a
goodness.
great, this
The
is a great
50s.
show.
The 50s. Oh my God. The roaring 20s.
Maria, I hear you, Maria. I hear you. Hey, George, listen. Today, Donald Trump also picked one of the January 6th rioters who was convicted to serve as CEO, his father. He picked his father to serve as CEO of the U.S. Agency for Global Media. This appears not just to be an attack by this administration that began, quite frankly, and very tragically and overtly, when ABC Disney agreed to give him a settlement of $16 million. But we saw the Washington Post not endorse for the first time in a presidential
Yes.
campaign. We saw the LA Times not endorse in a
Yes.
presidential campaign. So the oligarchs, people who own these papers, these billionaires, have all just decided. And then CNN even sent a memo to its anchors: do not criticize Donald Trump during his inauguration. Don't mention anything in the past. Give him his day. I mean, the media, George, is not the same, and it is contributing to the stress that exists in our community and in our world. George, tell me
Well,
what we can expect if we don't get the truth.
well, you can expect, mayhem if you don't get the truth. But not since the Coleon family have I seen such fear for one man. You know what I'm saying? And I believe, sometimes I just like to go back and watch The Godfather sometimes instead of turning on the news. It's so
Mario
similar.
Puzo is going to owe you a fortune for pulling his name in this conversation.
but the reality is that it's so much fear that's going on when it comes to this president, and he's so blatant with his threats and with his retaliation for people who don't do what he demands, that it is going to take a different type of person, maybe a different type of politician, and maybe even a different type of citizen to stand up to the things that we know. I have a 10-year-old son, Mason Noah Wilborn, and I taught him, Portia and we taught him just like I taught my 26-year-old, and like most of us will taught, from things that are from right from wrong, and I believe that is going to have to end up being the case for some of us, to look at stuff and just see what is blatantly right and what is blatantly wrong. And in our system, let's be honest, there's a lot that's wrong, and it's going to get worse. But you also have to remember that some of the people that's listening to us right now, some of our people in our own communities, you voted for this. You
Yep.
voted for this man, and I
Yep.
will not sit on anybody's radio show or anybody's podcast and not allow you to remember that some of our people in our own communities, some of the Hispanics, some of the people who just you were hoodwinked, you voted this man in. So you enjoy the ride like the rest of us, because some of us are not, are not going on this with blinders on, and everyone is not going down without a fight and without organizing and finding some type of way to survive what we think is an assault on our character and on our livelihoods. But I will not let people forget that many people in our communities, and brown and black and brown people, help vote this man in. So you enjoy your ride.
This is Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and my special guest is George Wilborn. George Wilborn, like me, about a week ago, was unemployed. I'm unemployed. I now got a job, a little something to do on the radio, but I don't understand how I got a job before George Wilborn got a job. Listen, if you hear me out there and you're looking for somebody to generate ratings for your radio show, your radio station, I want you to call George Wilborn. Now, in the next hour, the next half an hour, uh, attorney Theodore London is going to join us on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. He's going to join the stress reliever. We need some advice because George is broke. I'm broke. We need
I
to
mean,
stay
in regards to it's relative. Now that's it. That is broke in regards to what you say, and
Man,
whose else account you comparing it to.
man, I don't know what you know, but I know I was divorced. You divorced. They left with everything. We here talking to each other.
Oh no!
And
Oh,
now
that's gone.
we got a
Oh,
stage planning with Theodore London coming up in about 6 minutes. So maybe he can show us how to leave our children nothing.
Hey, I ain't know you meant that. Oh, that's gone. I thought I ain't know you meant the past money. Oh yeah, all that's gone.
So George, listen now. So I mean, I think there's some things, and I shared this on a program that I did yesterday, that if we just step back for a minute out of our anxiety, and we know who this guy is. This guy wants his face on Mount Rushmore. This guy wants to take down the Statue of Liberty essentially and put up his own statue. He wants gold toilets wherever he sits down, right? So we know a lot about this guy's personality. And I'm wondering if there are some things that we might be able to accomplish actually for our people if we take advantage of his ego. That is, his ego is predictable. And if we can predict that he likes to pardon people, right? Maybe he'll pardon a couple of million more people, a lot of them who could be us, right? I mean, there are ways
Or
to.
you.
Yeah, well, hey, I appreciate it, but I'm certainly at the end of a very, very long line of people who've been waiting before I've been waiting. My thing is what it is.
Sure.
But, I mean, there are people, there are medical doctors, there are nurses, there are clinicians, there are people who got caught up in Medicare and Medicaid. And these are Black people, Hispanic people, and yes, white people who spent their whole lives trying to be scientists.
Sure.
I mean, they were like on the other side of A&T's campus. I was over here in the business department. We all trying to figure out how to be transactional. They over here trying to figure out what a molecule, does and what this medicine does to the heartbeat and what it does to the kidneys and what it does to diabetes or the sugar. We trying to figure. Right. So my thinking is if we can find a way to get him to accidentally do something right. It seems to me he might be willing to do so. What do you think about that strategy?
Good luck with that. I hope we got a really solid plan B, because if that's our plan A, we in trouble. Okay. But I will say this though, in regards to pardoning people, there are people who and some that you just mentioned, people who not even being able to pursue work and continue to have their livelihood be in place for themselves and their family without a pardon, and a lot of times it's not a criminal pardon, or maybe something that was, a mistake that was made in the paperwork or the billing or what have you. So there's always situations where I believe that a pardon is definitely warranted and deserving, and I don't know that he, what he showed yesterday or a couple of days ago when he blanketly pardoned all of those people who stormed the Capitol. I don't know that he can be tricked into doing the right thing. I just think it has to be something that he has a quick pro quo type of mentality. And if it's something in it for him, then perhaps then he'll do it. So, how do we find something that's valuable to him? What is it that we have that is of value to him? Maybe that's a easier way than to try to slick and finagle your way around someone who is conniving and used to scheming.
I'd like to lay the foundation on our show for Stress Reliever Thursday with George Wilborn. The man deserves a show. And if you know your neighbor or you know your friend who needs some stress relief, you ought to be sharing this program. Don't just be
Absolutely.
listening. Don't just be laughing. Hit the share button. Hit the share button
Please.
on the
Well, because
program.
we have to do that. It's not like the United Negro College Fund where you can pledge the money and not send it in. You actually have to you actually have to subscribe. You actually have to follow us. You have to actually share the content because that's where we are. When I came up doing comedy, me and Bernie Mac and Cheryl Underwood and a lot of the old school comedians, we didn't have this technology. You had to go to city, stage to stage, and to get your view, you get your word out and get your point of view across. Now technology is different, and we need, like Jesse is saying, for you, if you're enjoying what you're seeing, you got to share it, and that's a part of the collaborative collection that we have to have as people to help me and Jesse get some more money because all our money gone, like you said.
Throw stress out Thursdays with George Wilborn. Throw stress out Thursdays with George Wilborn. After
Let's
Hump
go. I
Day,
like it.
we're coming on down to Friday. Let's get paid.
Yes,
Friday
indeed.
night, party
On
hunting.
Thursday night. Hey,
Yeah,
we get paid on Thursday. Nowadays you got direct deposit. It hit a couple of days
man.
early.
At some point in time, you can't even cover the amount of mayhem that this guy is throwing at us. So we have to
Yeah,
find a way to center ourselves, laugh our way
sure.
through it.
Yes, I
George
think so.
Wilbon, Thursday, throw out the stress day. I'm Jesse
My
Jackson Jr.
man.
When we return, we'll be back with attorney Theodore London and George Wilborn, throwing out the stress. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., and welcome back to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My very special guest is the stress reliever, George Wilborn, and now attorney Theodore London. Attorney London, radio personality, speaker, and community advocate. Theodore Ted London is passionate about helping families stay out of probate court, secure legacies for generations to come. The law offices of Theodore London specialize in land trusts, living trusts, powers of attorney documents, deeds, and probate, representing clients throughout Chicago, Illinois, Missouri, Wisconsin, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, both state and federal matters. And because he is on our show that now includes Los Angeles, California,
Wow.
Theodore London. Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Can you guys hear me there? I'm using this new mic. I just want to know.
We can hear you crystal clear.
Look at that. Of course, the attorney got the new mic. Look out.
I have a new mic. I'll make you perfect. But you guys are hilarious. But let me start by saying this. How much of a pleasure and a privilege it is to be on with Jesse Jackson Jr. on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And George Wilborn, again, you are a comedy legend. As I was telling you before, I'm not really a comedy fan, if you will. Mm-hmm. But you are indeed a funny man. So I'm so proud.
Thank you.
With both you guys. One last thing I must do before we get started. I must say hello to my wonderful wife, Kelly. So,
yes.
Hi, Kelly.
Hey, Kelly.
I love her very much. So I just want to say hello to her. And thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Well,
no, that's very kind.
You think you're not a funny guy, but on this stress relieving Thursday, you're talking to two people who have nothing. So we need you to share with our listeners how you can take some folk who ain't got nothing and turn it into something.
Hey, Jesse, you gonna quit trying to tell these people that I ain't got nothing. Cause I mean, I ain't got what I had, but you know,
I got lint in my pockets.
That's a distinct difference.
I got lint in my pockets.
Well, hey guys, there's good news. You know, I have been through that whole divorce trauma, and you know, here's what people don't understand: it is traumatic for men. Divorce is traumatic, and let me tell you something. You know what? I was just a struggling lawyer when I got divorced initially before I met the love of my life, Kelly. But let me tell you something. When you go through that divorce process, and you lose your home and your real estate and little savings that you've accumulated, people don't really understand that men are hurt. Men are hurt, and it takes quite a while to get over the hurt. Now, here's the thing: we don't really miss the lady because oftentimes we probably shouldn't have been with him in the first place, but we do miss that money. Okay, and we miss, we miss the money that we worked hard to.
And you think you're not funny?
Let me tell you something. I think there should be a show where people can talk about the heartache that they got over, and then now they're able to laugh. Because
man, that would be a hit show, theater, and you can't laugh until the good Lord, you know, allows you to go through that suffering, and you let that anger go or resentment or all those things that are usually coincide with the divorce. Not to mention a bad divorce makes it even more. And like you were saying, when you have real estate or you have money ties, you have investment properties, and that it involved with it, that adds and piles on to it. So
George, and then you lose it all.
Absolutely.
And then you lose it all. It's
yes.
And sometimes even a lady will disparage your name and you lose your good name. So
absolutely.
But here's the good news. The good news is there is a time, sometimes it takes years, that you can recover and you can laugh about it. And we are all laughing about it. And Jesse's talking about what he doesn't have now. But let me tell you something. You look Jesse up in a couple of years, and whatever Jesse lost is going to be multiplied in dozens.
By tenfold, yes.
Wait, look at here. Look at this right here. Ted London, show me and George Wilborn, who every time I take him out to eat, I pay the bill. He says he's still got something, but I paid for his last haircut, which was about 4 years ago.
Right, I know.
How you think I still got something?
How we're going to get there, how we are where we are today, and how we're going to get there.
Yes.
Well, you know what? First of all, it takes patience. You know what? And here's what when we talk about get over trauma, particularly for men who've endured divorces, you know, here's one of the things you really have to do as well. You have to kind of let yourself cry. it is okay to cry. It's okay to be hurt. You got to go through the pain, like George said. It is a cycle. It is a process. And you know what? It's a hard thing to get over the loss of your money. That's a big one. But here's the thing: if you can just reestablish yourself, take the time, get your plan back together. If you earn money in the beginning, you can probably earn it again.
Absolutely.
You had a plan. You know the formula, and just work the
Absolutely.
formula again, and you're going to be successful again.
You know, in fear of this sounding like the He-Man Woman Haters Club, I will also say, I, I would also say that
Let me say this. I was a member of that club at one
I
point.
know.
Yeah,
Trust me, so was I. I was Sergeant of Arms. I was
but
stymied. Listen. So one thing I think is also just imperative that we say, because we did transition from that there's a huge level of accountability that must take place. Or at least it did in my situation. That speeds up that healing process. When you evaluate what part of this did I contribute to, what part of this was a result of decisions that I made, and not just try to place the blame on your ex, or on the circumstance in general. That allows that reality of that it probably was something in hindsight that you would do differently if you could, looking back, that was solely on you. And it also from a biblical standpoint opens that door of forgiveness and healing for the things that as human beings we know we desperately need, and to recover financially is fantastic and is needed. But if mentally we have not gotten strong and we have not healed emotionally, then I think we do ourselves a great disservice and set ourselves up for the same things that we went through in the past.
And Ted, just before you respond to that,
Yes.
George has kids. I have kids. What do we leave our kids in this context? What do we prepare to leave them? I don't want
And
my
how do
kids.
we how do we protect for those of us who may be like in my situation with a person 12 years, but yet we haven't been able to get married again. I haven't been able to marry Portia, but we've been in some states even known as common law companions. But what's the provisions and protections that men like me will have? Well, your ex may still have your last name, and your current woman who is handling all of the things, and you want to make sure that whatever you have now and in the future goes to her. How do you protect from that?
We got about 1 minute for your response, and then we're going to come back after the break for your continued answer, Ted.
Well, that's a great question, George. George. Well, here's the reality of that. You have Portia in danger right now. She's in danger because if something happens to you, she's not going to be entitled to any portion of what she's probably helped you accumulate.
Absolutely.
So it's so important for you. And we've seen this time and time again. I'm dealing with this matter right now in my office. Lady's been with the guy for 25 years. He never divorced the first wife, and he passed away, had multiple properties. The wife is his girlfriend, de facto wife. There is no common law here where I am now. And the children and the first wife, which he's been separated from for 25 years, they're now entitled to whatever money he had and the real estate that he owned, including the home that this woman has been in for 25 years now. Mm-hmm. Now they're going to displace her. And she's not going to be entitled to any of the money. So she's in danger. We want to give you some information when we come back about how you can make sure that you protect her and get her what you may want her to have that she's probably entitled to as well.
Fantastic.
When we come forward on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, attorney Theodore London is our special guest, and the stress reliever, George Wilborn. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., and welcome back to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and welcome to Throw Stress Out Thursday with the legendary comedian, the stress reliever, George Wilbon. And to help us relieve some stress,
Born.
attorney Theodore Bourne. I did say Bourne.
You said
Will
Bond.
Bourne. Oh, man.
Like
come
James
on,
Bond.
Will Bourne. Listen, my apologies, George. And we've got attorney Theodore London here, who's trying to convince two broke brothers that one day in a few years we won't be broke no more. So we want to welcome Theodore London, who is the nation's preeminent African American trust and estate lawyer. Mr. London, share with us why Black people need to take estates and estate law seriously.
Well, here's what we have going on, Jesse and George. There are many middle-class African-American folks who moved to the Midwest, Chicago, California, Ohio, Gary, Indiana, from the South, from those sharecropper shotgun homes, dirt floors, walked miles to school, and they moved up to Chicago. They caught those trains and moved around the country. And they've done very well for themselves. They got state jobs, government jobs, city jobs, county jobs, educators, business owners. They bought their homes. They paid for their homes. They educated their children. Now they are retired and they have pensions. And here's what they don't have that many of you have, which causes some of you not to have much money. These are these younger folks, not baby boomers and older. They didn't have $200 a month cell phone bills. They didn't have a $300 a month cable bill. They didn't have really a whole lot of selection of foreign cars to buy. They may have had Cadillacs at best, maybe Buicks, Oldsmobiles, whatever. And they learned and knew how to save money. And so now as they have aged and they have worked for 30 or 40 years, paid off their homes, educated their children, and now receiving pensions with not the large expenses of a mortgage, cell phone bills, big time cars, they're accumulating quite a bit of money. So really the baby boomer generation is the first generation in Black history where we're going to leave our children and grandchildren real estate in mass and money in mass. And if you don't have some estate planning to keep your things out of probate court, then they're going to have to go through the long, expensive, stressful probate process. And that is the process by which they're going to, your children, they're going to have to go through the process to get the home transferred in their names and to collect the money. Now, in order to do that, going through the probate process, you're going to need a lawyer, their filing fees, their court expenses, there's court time, all which can be avoided. I want to say this one thing. I've been practicing law for going on close to 30 years now, and I have not done a will for my clients in over 20 years. Because if you have a will, if your loved ones have a will, they're going to have to go through the probate process. And the purpose of efficient estate planning is to avoid probate court. So we don't want your loved ones to have to go through the probate process. So let's use George as an example. George has a love of his life.
He's a good example.
George is a good example. He's a perfect example. George is, in fact, a case study of what
hey, in several different cases.
We're going to talk about the estate planning case study.
Physical and financial.
Well, George has a new lady in his life, been with her for 12 years, has a 10-year-old son, but they are not married. And so that creates a dilemma for that lady of George's, because if something happens to him, then the child is going to be entitled to whatever portion that he's going to be entitled to, but the mother's not going to be able to access it to use it for the benefit of the child. And then so now the mother's going to have to go through the probate process to be appointed the guardian for her child to be able to get control of George's assets that's going to be used for the benefit of the child, but can't be used until the child is 18 years old.
So how do we fix that for people like me and the millions of men like me?
Millions of men like you, George. Millions of men like you. And let's say something. It's not just men like you, George. There are women like you as well. There's some women who have done very well for themselves. They earn more money than their husbands. Perhaps the homes are in the wife's name for whatever reason, and they haven't done any estate planning. So this is not just a male thing. Women are in these positions as well.
Absolutely.
Estate planning also. So here's how you avoid it. So typically for most middle-class African Americans, there are really just three primary things that we want to keep out of probate court. Only three, uno, dos, tres. The home or the real estate is one. We want to keep the people out of probate court, you individual, so too the people. And three, what's the third thing that we want to keep out of probate court? The real estate, the people, and the money. We want to keep the
money. I thought the money was number one, but I didn't want to rewrite your list.
Thank you so much. I can rewrite his list because there ain't no money left. It's just two.
No, well, you know what, Congressman, there's more money to come from you. I see it all on you. So wealth and success is on you. I see it. So,
amen.
Fret not, brother. It's coming, and it does come. But for those who have accumulated some, you have to make sure that your loved ones get it without having them going through the probate process. So,
what's the easiest way to do that?
The easiest way to do it is start with a living trust. You need a living trust. And what a living trust is a document that's prepared by lawyers that's going to allow you to name someone after you to manage your resources for the benefit of someone else. So, for example, George, you may make your lady friend what's called the successor trustee of your trust, and you may name her and your son as beneficiaries. And you may say, listen, I'll give my lady friend, please give me her name again, George.
Portia.
You may tell Portia.
And this is my significant other. She ain't no lady friend. She been riding this ship for 12 years. That's over decades. So everything.
Marry the lady then. Marry the lady. You know what? Here's what I dated my wife for 4 years. I met Kelly at the Essence Festival. All of my buddies have been telling me, you got to go to the Essence Fest, man. Some beautiful ladies down there. So one year I took them up on it and certainly went down there and met her on the second day. So I dated her for 4 years. I had been through the shock of divorce, losing all my money. I lost it all. Boy, let me tell you, I was hurt and I hurt bad. Okay.
Yes.
And did not want to experience that again. And, you know, one of the things that I did, George, when I determined whether I was going to marry Kelly, Kelly and I have been married now for going on 8 years now. One of the things I did was I watched how she managed my money.
Okay.
So I watched how she managed her own. And I'll give an example. Kelly won't throw anything away in the refrigerator.
Okay.
She's not wasteful. I mean, we'll go to dinner. She'll bring in the food home. And I'm like, what is this in the refrigerator? If I throw it away, she gets mad at me because I was going to eat that for lunch. Well, for me, I like the way she manages her money. She doesn't waste her money. And the good news is she doesn't waste mine. So that was a real important thing for me. But I wanted
we shared that, by the way. We shared that. Kelly and Portia said that same thing. I got some tuna fish in the refrigerator right now that I'm dying for her to throw away. You know what I'm saying? But
throw it away, George, and get the heat and take the heat, but get the tuna fish out of your refrigerator.
Hey, listen, I don't want to mess with her system, and I don't want to waste my money.
Right. I get that. Believe me, I get that. But there are just really three primary things that you need to avoid chaos for Portia in a worst case scenario. That is, you need a living trust. So you name someone, Portia, to manage your resources for her and your children. One.
Yes.
And then you need power of attorneys for yourself. There are two kinds of power of attorneys. There is one for health care. There's one for business matters. And what they do is they allow you to name someone to be in a position to make health care and business decisions for you if you ever need someone to do that for you. Listen, both of you guys are business entities in and of itself. So if you ever became disabled, couldn't manage, couldn't move for whatever reason, things still have to move forward.
That's right.
Signatures would be required on some documents. Someone needs to be in a position to make decisions for you. The easiest, most inexpensive, most efficient way to do that is make sure that you have power of attorneys for yourself. Again, there's one for healthcare, one for business matters. Everyone needs them both.
And what's that third?
And the third thing is the money. So we want to keep the money out of probate court. We're talking about checking, saving, mutual funds, 401ks, stocks, bonds, CDs, credit unions, life insurance policies. Any kind of financial account that you have, the easiest way to avoid the probate process is to make sure that you have beneficiaries on all of those accounts or payable on death provisions on every one of those accounts. Whomever you name will get the money very easily after you without them having to go through the expensive, time-consuming, stressful probate process.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., and you've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Thank you, Theodore London. Thank you, George Wilbon. We'll see you on the other side.